Hello, in this video I'll show you how to make your own corn tortillas. These can be used for soft shell tacos, to make wraps, or you can even turn them into hard shell tacos or nacho chips. The type of corn flour that you use to make corn tortillas is very important to make sure that you have the right texture and the right taste. It's recommended to use masa, which is corn and lime. Lime is also known as calcium hydroxide, and this is used to break down the outer shell for each of the corn pieces, which makes the corn more easy to digest and adds much better flavor. The process where lime or calcium hydroxide is applied to the corn to break down that shell is called nixtamalization. You might not see lime listed on the bag, but if you're buying masa that says it has been nixtamalized, this was also the type of flour that you can use to create tortillas. I use 1 cup of masa for 2/3 cup of water, as recommended by this bag, but if the masa that you purchase recommends a different ratio, definitely use that ratio instead. When adding the water to the masa, the water needs to be over 140 degrees Fahrenheit. I like to boil some of the water in my tea kettle and then just pour that directly into the masa. Using hot water to mix with the masa flour results in a process called gelatinization, where the starch molecules in the masa flour break down and allow the dough to stick together. If you're using water that's not too hot, you could end up with a very crumbly dough, or you could end up with tortillas that tear while you're trying to cook them. I also add in a pinch of salt just for a little bit more flavor in the tortillas, then I mix everything together with a fork. It won't be possible to fully combine the dough in the bowl without kneading it. So once everything is pretty well combined and there's not much more that you're mixing with the fork, I turn it out onto a mat. Once it's on the mat, I combine all the pieces together and start kneading it until the dough is smooth. Oftentimes when I make the dough, I'm worried that it's still a little bit too dry, but as I continue kneading, the dough does come together nice and smooth. So if you think the dough is too dry, I recommend kneading for at least a minute before adding more water. The kneading really does help the texture of this dough. The dough should be easy to tear, but also soft and easy to form. It should not be very crumbly. If after kneading it still is too crumbly, add a little bit more water. If the dough is really sticky to the touch, add a little bit more of the masa. Having the texture is extremely important here because there's only a couple ingredients to make the tortilla. If you're not going to use the dough right away, I recommend covering it with plastic wrap just so it doesn't dry out. I don't recommend putting the dough in the fridge to chill. It's never turned out right for me after I have this chill in the fridge. When you're ready to use the dough, which is ideally no more than an hour after it's been kneaded, you can cut it into equal portions. The amount of dough when I use this recipe, which is 1 cup of masa and 2/3 cup of water, yields 8 small tortillas or 4 large tortillas. In this case, I'm going to be making the small tortillas. I take one of the 8 portions of dough and roll it into a ball in my hands. This way, it'll be easier to shape the tortilla into a circle. I press it flat a little bit with my hands, and then I get a piece of parchment paper before I use a rolling pin. This prevents the dough from sticking to the rolling pin, which happens quite a lot, and you don't want to use flour or anything else on top of the dough to prevent the rolling pin from sticking, because it would compromise the texture of the tortilla. I roll the tortilla until it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Any thinner than this, and you risk your tortilla tearing when you lift it up or when you cook it. Then I move this tortilla out of the way so that I can continue rolling the additional tortillas. I try to roll all the tortillas as quickly as possible because as they sit out exposed to the air, they can dry out, which makes it more difficult to roll. I repeat the same steps of rolling the tortilla dough into a ball in my hands, then flattening it a little bit on the mat. Then I cover the dough with a piece of parchment paper and roll it until it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Of course, you can use a tortilla press to form the tortillas, and you can also try flattening them between 2 pans. For me, I've always had the best luck just using a rolling pin. To cook the tortillas, I preheat a griddle to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. These cook really fast, so I like to use a higher temperature so that the tortillas also get some nice color on them. I cook each tortilla for 30 seconds per side. If I'm making a very large tortilla, I cook it for about a minute per side. I flip each tortilla once and then place it on a paper towel lined plate. The paper towel on the plate is going to trap in some of that heat as the tortillas cool down. This will create steam, which is going to keep the tortillas nice and pliable until they're all cooked and ready to be turned into soft tacos or wraps. When it's time to use the tortillas to create the soft shell tacos for this evening's meal, I like to flip the entire stack over. The tortilla that's on the bottom is actually going to be the softest because it was kept warm between the paper towel and the tortilla on top of it. This gives a chance for the tortilla that used to be on the top of the stack to also stay nice and soft and pliable. If the tortillas do start to get hard and crack, just microwave them for about 30 seconds with a paper towel on top. Top with whatever toppings you want and enjoy your corn tortillas. Thanks for watching this video on how to make corn tortillas. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and as always, like and subscribe to see more content.